Good morning, you guys. Happy Friday. Today is April 12th and it is Friday. I am ready to have a good day. I want to show you what we're doing today, but at the end of the day, I'm going to show you how I'm teaching writing and I'm loving it. Writing's my favorite thing to teach. It's my favorite thing to teach because of how I've been doing it and how I've been trained. And I just love it. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you at the end of the day. But right now, I am just trying to relax until my kids, until the bell rings. I drove all the way to get a Starbucks today because I really want to have a good day. Let me show you my message, or my morning message that I put on the board. All right, so I have been shining the morning message since winter break, and it's been game changer. Now students walk in and we practice this. This is something I didn't do in the beginning of the year that I regret, but we practice coming in quietly, looking at the board and seeing what they have to do in the morning. This morning they're gonna work on their Chromebooks for morning work, which is MobyMax Fact Fluency, because on the 19th, they're going to be having their multiplication party. Anyways, let me show you what we're doing today. Okay, so we're gonna start with morning PE, and this is when I just let the kids play basketball, play handball. ELA, we're gonna do our Judy Moody test. It's online. Then we're gonna begin our story structure project. I made a video about this last week. I'm really excited for it. I created it. I hope it goes pretty well. Then we're gonna take our spelling test, recess. Writing, they are working on their final drafts today. It is due today. In order for them to do STEAM, this has to be done. Math, we're taking our area and perimeter test, lunch. We fill out our planners. We do our math fluency for the multiplication party. For ELD, we're doing our idioms test. Idioms was so fun to teach. And then for STEAM, we're going to be painting. Like I showed you guys last week, this is the graphic organizer I made to start the projects off for a story structure. And they're going to be coming up with their characters, their setting, and they're gonna be telling me what happens first, next, and last. This is the plot. Now, something I wish I would have incorporated into this, and hopefully I can do next year, is I would love a little section of theme. And after they write their story, or maybe before they write their story, they can pick a theme for their story, because that's what we're working with also. We're working with story structure and theme. And then this is the book that they're gonna be making. Folds in half, and they're gonna design it. A cover and a back. I want it to look really good. It's a project. This is our idioms test. It's from Rooted in Reading curriculum. I really love their ELA. And then our chapter 3 test. So I'm just gonna finish eating my breakfast. Today's gonna be a good day. I will catch, there we go, there's the bell. I will catch up with you guys after school. Hi you guys, it's the end of school. It's 2:20 and I am so ready for this weekend. The day went by pretty well. Unfortunately, we had a lot of tests to do. I don't like to have all my tests on a Friday, but that's just how it happened. So I'm gonna show you how my room looks after painting. My kids did really good at cleaning up. During recess, when my students asked if they can go to the prize box, and they paid for it, tickets, and when she went inside, she noticed that something spilled on the bottom. So some of my sweet girls helped me clean it out, and that's what I did during recess. It was a huge mess, so now my trash can's full of sticky, random stuff that was in my prize box, and now it's not. So I'm a little sad that kind of my prize box is kind of empty, but whatever. While we were doing art, I just put this up there. Oh, so funny. None of my kids understand what this is from, but this is the only thing they had for art in Bitmoji. So here's the trash cans. I feel so bad when I have a lot of trash. I bought extra trash cans from the 99 to help with managing the trash. Yay, look at my cute little library lounge. Random papers left. My signs knocked down. Here's my back table with all the art. And it's all drying back here too. Okay, after reanalyzing it, actually it wasn't that bad. I was just being a little bit, so it's not that bad. I'm gonna figure out what I need to do for next week. We test on May 1st. I wanna do test prep with IABs. However, I need to try to figure out how I'm gonna fit it in every day. I might just push my ELA, my next unit of ELA over. I think that's what we're gonna do. I just gotta think about some things. I need to make some posters for math. We're getting into geometry. That's our last lesson or last unit before state testing, and then we start state testing in 2 weeks. So I wanna do as many IABs as possible for them. This is the first time seeing the test. This is the first time I'm really experiencing giving the test, so we both have a lot to learn. I don't have to plan anything. I got all my planning done during my prep, so I'm good on planning. I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna be doing some test prep. So okie dokie. Okay, something super cute happened today. So the writing was due today and I had an absent student. So what I do when students are absent for their writing and they're not gonna have time to type it or finish typing it, I just take their Fold 5.9, which I will explain later, and I grade that because it's basically the same thing. So when I went to go grab my students' Fold 5.9, on their sources page or on the back of their circle map, this is what I found. Miss Thompson, you are the best teacher I could ever think of, and you make everything better, and you are kind, respectful, nice, and special. Like if somebody is hurt, and they didn't finish, but so sweet. That was really nice. I couldn't believe it. Like, they just decided to write that out of nowhere. They didn't turn it into me, but it was on the back of their circle map, so super cute. I need some encouragement like that, for real. Okeydokey, I'm gonna figure out what I need to plan for next week. I'm gonna make some posters, some anchor charts for math, and then we're gonna dive into my writing and how I do writing. So awesome, let's get going. Okay, so I'm about to make my anchor chart, and I was looking in the book and I found this. It's like old notes that a previous teacher left for me, and it's 3-column, which is Avid, and we're an Avid school. So I think I'm just gonna use this. I like it. I don't know. It's hard because I never taught geometry before, so I don't know what would be good to have up and what not to have up, you know what I mean? So I think I'm just gonna use this and call it good. It just has like the vocabulary, a polygon. So why not? I think I'm gonna do it. Okay, this took me a little longer than I thought, but it'll do. It will do for now. I'm just afraid the kids that sit over there may not be able to see it that well. I'll think of something to do for them. I think I'll make them that sheet that I found, and they can glue it into their ELA notebook or math notebook for everyone. So I went to go check if we had any poster paper that I usually use for my anchor charts and everything, but we didn't have any. So my co-teacher gave me one of these, and they were left in her classroom from the previous teacher, and I have 2 packs of these. So what I did was I just used the back of the pages for my anchor charts. Improvisation. Okay, you guys, so I'm about to leave. So I'm gonna talk to you guys about how I am doing writing. Let me start off by saying this is my first year teaching. I had no idea what to expect, but I will say I love teaching writing. I love teaching writing for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I like how I was trained in writing. I actually love how I was trained in writing. It helped me so much as a teacher. I love the structure I've created by chunking my lessons. So it takes about 2 weeks to do a writing, and that's fine with me for now. I'm not gonna push that. I do writing every single day for 30 minutes. I make a block for 30 minutes every single day after recess, and I'm gonna continue to do that to the last day of school. I love teaching writing. So right now we did opinion writing in the beginning of the year, had a benchmark on opinion writing through the district. Opinion writing was pretty hard for me, and I was brand new, so that was really difficult. But then we went into narrative writing, and we worked on that I think from November until February or March, and my kids did so good with narratives. I love teaching narratives, and I loved reading my students' narratives. They're so creative and they're really funny. And then we took a benchmark on narratives, and my class did really good. I was so proud of them. And now we're working on informational writing. That's what I'm gonna show you today. I'm gonna show you the graphic organizers I've used and how I chunk my lessons. So let's begin. Let me refer back. In my last video, I talked about how we are reading Judy Moody Saves the World. And basically the whole premise of that story is saving the environment. I personally like to make my writings match what we're doing in ELA. It typically takes me about 2 weeks to finish an ELA story, so I like to match my writing with my ELA. Why not? It gives the students more background knowledge. I think the students understand what's going on more, and I like how it's all like mushed together into something, I don't know, it just flows better. I'm just gonna be talking about my expectation and what I was trained to do and how I'm just teaching you what I know, okay? I'm not saying this is the best, but I think it's a really good place to start, especially if you're going into your first year. So for day one, I introduced them the prompt. So the prompt for this writing was basically write an essay about ways that we can reduce, reuse, and recycle, something along the lines of that. Write about how we can take care of our planet. Write an informational text about taking care of our planet, something like that. Honestly, I can't remember. It was 2 weeks ago. Day one, we read source one. So I did choose to get my own 2 sources. I got them from readworks.com. I like readworks because you can select grade level text. So this is a 3rd grade reading level. I wanted my students to be pulling information from a 3rd grade reading level. Even if they're a little low, it's okay because we're doing it together. And my district does provide us with curriculum for writing, and I'm actually using that next writing. So this one, I just wanted to pull things about taking care of the earth. 1, Earth Day is on the 22nd. 2, it matches with our ELA again, and I just want it to be cohesive. In my writing, we have to have 2 sources. So students have to read source 1 and source 2 and write an informational essay about it. So for day 1, this is day 1. Day 1, we are reading through source number 1. I always have the title, and I am always sure to have source 1 labeled so students know this is source 1. So my first part of instruction is I give them each a circle map. So at my district, we are limited copies, so whenever I can make my own, I'm gonna utilize that. So what I do is I get a blank white sheet of paper, I make a circle map on the front, and I usually have it all the same color so I can make sure tell my students, make sure you are on the green circle map, because I want everyone to be on the same. I want everyone on the green circle map at the same time for source number 1. And on the back, I always put a different color circle map. What we do is on this circle map, we write source 1 and the title of the source. We go through, we number our paragraphs, and we go through and read. What I do is paragraph 1, I read, I'm thinking out loud, and I'm explaining why I'm pulling a detail out of paragraph 1 onto my circle map. So let me show you the one we worked on together, and we do this all together. So paragraph 1, so this is actually from it. Source 1, take care of our planet. And I do this over the overhead. So we find a detail we like, we write it in our circle map, and the most important thing I tell my students is you need a site where you get your information from. You need to tell me where you found this. You did not find this. It didn't, like, you need to tell me where it's from. You didn't come out from outer space. You read it from somewhere. That's how you know about it. So what I do is I tell them you have to have underneath your circle map where you got it. So source 1, paragraph 1. There's our detail for that. I do paragraph 2 also. Students with a partner do paragraph 3. Students with a partner again do paragraph 4. And then they're doing paragraph 5 on their own. That's the very last paragraph, and they are to write their own detail that they found in the circle map, or they found on their source, into the circle map, and they must circle it in red. Now, they need to circle it in red because that's the one I'm going to formatively assess. So I'm doing a formative assessment on that, and I'm looking to see if they pulled a detail that's important enough to write, if it's relevant, and if they cited their information. And I always said, highlight where you got your information from, because it's so important. Tell me where you got it from, and we do that a lot with race anyway. So that's day 1, 30 minutes, done. Day 2, we do the same exact thing with source number 2, double-sided. Source number 2 is called Clean Energy, and I got this from ReadWorks also. It's a 3rd grade level. And I tell them, turn over to the back. We start filling out source 2 together. And again, I am reading it through. So I guess I should have said, we read it through, we go paragraph by paragraph. So I read the paragraph 1 through. If there's any words we don't know, we mark our text to find synonyms for words we don't know and definitions. And we write them in the margin. And I do this the same the day previously. And then I'm thinking out loud why I'm choosing this detail. I'm really emphasizing that I'm not just copying it word for word, I am paraphrasing. I'm taking what I'm reading and I am mixing up in my brain, I'm just writing it out. That's kind of what I say. I don't know. It works for the most part. And then again, we talk about citing our sources, like where did we get our information? So again, I do paragraph 1 this time. I'm only doing it once. We've been doing this all year. Paragraph 2 with a partner, paragraph 3 with a partner, and of course I'm checking answers. And then paragraph 4 they're doing on their own for a formative grade assessment. Now I always grade these same day. I grade them right after school. It only takes me like 7 to 10 minutes to grade. It doesn't take very long, and I give notes down. I write notes on their circle map, and we always review the notes I write for them. Sometimes I'll be like, this is perfect, or remember you need to do this. I just give them feedback on their work. So circle maps are filled out, and now they are graded and handed back. So now we are on day 3. Day 3, we start working on our flow map. Unfortunately, I am not trained in thinking maps yet. That's a training I really, really want. Hopefully I can, but for now, this is, how I'm doing it. Okay, so again, I make these all by hand. I had a clip of that earlier, what I was doing, and this is a flow map. So I always have my poster hanging on the wall. They have a flow map, and then I say, write your transition words into the flow map. Transition word here, here, and here. They're on the poster, and they're not labeled transition words, but they know what that means. So you definitely have to teach them what transitional words mean. So for our informative writing, we are using transitional words. First of all, next, and in addition. So what we do is I said, okay, everyone, we're doing this together. So basically we're doing this first chunk of the flow map together, this second chunk of the flow map together, and then this one they're doing all by themselves on their own. So for this first chunk, I tell them, all right, you guys look on source 1, and I want you to circle this detail we did together in orange. So they circle in orange. Then I explain to them, that is our first detail, and I labeled it D1 for detail. I would probably do this a little differently. This is my first time teaching informative writing, so I would tweak it just a little bit. And I had the students label it. I had them outline the detail in orange, because that's our orange paragraph. That's our second paragraph. And they label it D1 for detail 1. Here's our evidence. It's labeled E for evidence, and here is our elaboration down here, and they label it with me in their orange crayon or colored pencil. I think this is a good time to show you the poster that I refer to all the time. Okay, so here's the informational poster. This is what is called a Fold 5-9, and what I'm referring to in the flow map is this orange paragraph, which is paragraph 2, green paragraph, which is paragraph 3, and blue paragraph, which is paragraph 4. And I labeled it detail 1, that's why we labeled it evidence, that's why we labeled it, and elaborate, and that's why we labeled that also. Same with this detail right here, and same with this. I'll explain that. I find labeling the flow map with the detail 1, evidence, and elaborate really helps the students understand that they need all 3 in that paragraph. And if they label it, they know if they got all 3. And my students did really good with this. And I think it's because I labeled it. And I made that like second, I don't know, I made that like a really last decision, I guess. I was like, this is kind of complicated. Let's label it. It is a lot. But so yeah, labeled it. Detail 1, evidence, elaborate. Detail 2, evidence, elaborate. And I told them to label it in orange for our orange paragraph, green for our green paragraph. And during this time, I'm pulling sticks and saying, where did I get this from? Like, you know, you pull sticks, have them partner talk throughout just to keep them engaged. Then this is the one they did on their own. So for this one, this is the you do. This is in blue. I told them to label this in blue, and they are to write down their detail 3. They actually got to choose their own detail to write about. I told them to pick detail, we chose detail 1 from source 1. Detail 2 we chose from source 2. And then detail 3, they chose whichever one. They could pick source 1 or source 2. They wrote their detail, they wrote their evidence, and then they wrote their elaboration. Now, this is what I am grading on here. I'm grading a formative assessment on this portion, and I am looking for if they have their detail and if it's relevant to the topic. And the topic is ways to take care of our planet. I'm looking to see if they have their evidence, if they stated where they got their information from. And I am looking to see if they elaborated on their detail. Now, I found that teaching students how to elaborate and make it make sense is a little hard. What I was finding was students were writing their detail, but then their elaboration chunk was kind of really off topic from their detail. So this is what I told them to do. I said, okay, you guys, look where you got your evidence from in detail 2. Or let's pretend detail, this green paragraph. I got my evidence, and we always say you have to, you know, make it flow. So I always say, I found this information in source 2, paragraph 3. So I say, okay, you guys, when you elaborate, you need to go back where you found your information. So this says source 2, paragraph 3. So let's get our circle maps, and everyone does this with me, and let's look at source 2, paragraph 3. So I underlined this important detail, but I'm gonna find another detail to support that. So they reread this and they find another detail to elaborate on. Or I hope that's making sense. I hope I'm making sense, you guys. I'm trying. And that's something that you really have to practice. That's why I really emphasize that here and here, because it is a little, whoa. But practice is the key. Okay, so they turn this in, and I grade it same day. I like to grade everything same day. I'm a little crazy like that, but I can say I'm 100% up with grades because I just sit down right when I get back in from duty. I take the 20 minutes and I just grade everything, put it in my book in the computer, and I'm done. Now this section, I am giving them feedback. So I'm like, sometimes I'll be like, you don't have your source, make sure you put your source. You didn't elaborate, where's your elaboration? And just drawing the boxes like this really helped. All right, so now we are on day 4. So day 4 is when we start to make our fold 5-9. So our fold 5-9 is something that my district has came up with, and it's awesome. I love it so much, and I'm so glad I can use it. It helps me. So we take a piece of paper. It's best if you don't have any lines. And students know how to do this. You practice this in the beginning of the year with each writing, and they know how to do it by now. It is a little bit of practice, but they get it. So let me show you how to do it. Okeydokey. So to make your fold 5-9, you can have students use rulers or whatever, but it's not really necessary. So what they do is they fold it like this, unfold it, bam. So it's called a fold 5-9 because we fold it and then we count 5 down. So we start up here and then we count down to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw your line. Wow. Okay. And again, start up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, I do this on the overhead as many times as I need, but at this point in the year, the students got it really well. Bam. All right. Now, these in the middle are the only ones that get lines drawn down here. Okay. So this is our fold 5-9. And it'll make sense. It matches the exact thing as our poster. So when we work with introduction, what I tell, so I always do this. Okay, so this is how it looks. This is going to be our red paragraph. This is going to be our orange, green, blue, and pink. The students outline it in markers or crayons. They only do an outline. And I give them about 5 to 7 minutes to do that, especially in the beginning of the year, but the more you do it, the faster it goes. So the students are pretty fast at it, and by the time they are done, it's going to look like this. Now this is one that we do together, and this is how it looks. So at this point, we are working on our intro paragraph. This is our day 4, and we're just focusing on introduction. And the introduction is pretty much the same for the 3 different writing styles, but we always talk about, and on my poster it says, the first thing you need in your introduction is a hook. And we talk about what's a good hook. A good hook would be like an onomatopoeia. So we always do a bam, crunch, wham, something like that. And that's something that we really focus on with narratives. And that's a good hook. My students are really good at that. On all their benchmark writings, they all did a hook. And I was like, yes. The thing you need in your hook is a definition, and the definition is going to be about the topic that we're working on. The last thing that they need is their thesis statement. Now that's a little tricky, but I try to break it down as best as I can. So what I tell them about their thesis statement is, and I say, you guys, all your thesis statement is you're just listing out detail 1, detail 2, detail 3. You're just listing it out with commas and a period. So here's the example we did together as a class. We do this as a class every single time. This is our intro. We have our hook. We talk about what's a good hook. I call in a student. They give me a good idea for a hook. I mean, this writing was, sometimes more writings are better than the others, and sometimes topics are better than others, but it came out pretty well. So I highlighted our hook, our onomatopoeia, and then I highlighted our definition, and I didn't highlight our thesis statement, but I did underline it, and I labeled it like super little. Here's underline detail 1, underline detail 2, and if they run out of room, they go to the back. And then detail 3, they did on their own from their flow maps. So day 5. Day 5, we are focusing on our body paragraphs. This day takes a little bit more time, but not really. So maybe on day 5, I take a much longer time with writing than I usually do, and that's okay. Maybe I'll go for like 40 minutes instead of 30, but it's well needed. So we're now working on our orange paragraph. So I have this on my overhead, And on my poster, it says you need to write your transition word. We write our transition word. And in this first box, we need to talk about our detail. So in our first box, we talk about our detail. In our second box, we talk about our evidence. Where do we get our information from? You're not just gonna say source 1, paragraph 2. You're gonna say, according to source 1, paragraph 3, blah, 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 right? So that's for evidence. And then this last box, and I always tell them they can just continue to write down, but this last box is focusing on elaborating. So basically they're taking what they wrote here and writing it here. Then we're gonna do that again. Green. We already pretty much did all the work. Now we're just putting it in our fold 5-9. Now this part is the part they did on by themselves in blue. That is why this is blank, because they did this on their own. I give them 10 minutes to do it on their own. They can make changes if they need to make changes, because I always give them feedback on this portion. Okie dokie. So then this blue is done. I actually don't grade this until their final writing's done. So then they keep this, and I actually have them keep all their papers in their to-do folder, but next year, depending where I'm at and what grade, I'm gonna have them do a writing folder. I'm gonna have them have a writing folder that will be a completely different color, and it will be labeled writing folder, because it is a lot of papers, but my kids are really good and they keep track of their stuff. So day 6, we are now focusing on a conclusion. Now conclusions are usually, they're pretty simple. They don't take as long, but we talk about what makes a good conclusion. We're wrapping up everything that we talked about in the paper. And for our pink paragraph, our transitional phrase is in conclusion. They need in conclusion, comma, their topic, which we stated up here. Detail 1, 2, and 3, which we stated up here. And then I allow the students to add a little creativity to end it on a nice little shabam. Day 7, this is about a week and a half into it. I have my students type their papers into Google Classroom. For that, in the beginning of the year, we talk about how to indent and write. And what they do is they type all this out, and they type it out in the color. So they're gonna type this intro in red. They're gonna type the second paragraph in orange, green, blue, and pink. Then they type it in, and we really talk about indenting, and that's something that was really kind of hard in the beginning, but now they really understand, and I'm getting like perfect papers. I'm not trying to boast, but my kids are awesome. Okay, so I give them about 2-3 days max to finish their writing, and today all their writing was due, and everyone got it done. If you don't want your students to write and type in Google Classroom, you can just grade this. If you want them to write it out on paper with indenting, with 2-finger indenting, that's what I did in the beginning of the year. When they're all done typing their paper and they turned it in, I give them a blank piece of white paper. Okay, I'm not gonna show you any of my students' work, but I am just gonna pretend like I did it and I'm a student. So this is a really good early finisher if you want to use that. I love doing this. It just allows them to have some creativity. This is for the cover of their writing. So I always say you have to have your title on your cover sheet, and you have to have like a picture of what's going on in the story or in your writing or essay. And then I say you have to have your name on it. And I love to hang these up on my display because it's so fun. I love this. So this is what their cover looks like. And then I say, when you're all done with your cover, you bring it up to me. You bring me all your writing papers. So I always order it like this. Source, circle map, flow map, fold 5-9 rough draft. Then I print out their essays. I put it on the very front. I put it next, and then I put the cover. Then I staple it and I grade the essay portion that's printed out. And I am looking for their third paragraph that they did all by themselves. And I'm looking to see if they made any adjustments. I'm looking to see if they have everything with their final writing. I'm looking to see if they have every little piece for intro, the body, and conclusion. And that's how I grade their writing. And I always make notes in there too. And I always pull them and talk to them individually. They did really good. I am sure to tell them. And whenever my students like do a writing, I always attach their progress report to their writing so they can read to their parents or their at home, whoever's at home. And I tell them, you guys read your writings to your family. Read your essay to your family. They're gonna be so proud of you. You typed a 5-paragraph essay. They are typing 5-paragraph essays. I'm so proud of them. So again, this is our informational fold 5-9. This is for our story and narrative. It's basically the same thing, but for our bodies or for our narrative, we need a hook, setting, a protagonist, and a wish. And the wish is like, I wish this happened, and they're gonna talk about it again down in conclusion. So orange, we need transitional word, dialogue, and elaborate, more detail. Same thing. And this is for our opinion writing. This is the first one I taught. This was really hard for me just because I wasn't comfortable with the whole writing. And I was a first-year teacher, and it was just crazy. But next year I'm excited to do this again. So in there, I would remake this also. It's kind of bleh. But this is for their opinion, and they need a hook, a definition, and a thesis. Very similar to informative. Here's their body. We need reason 1, evidence, elaborate, so on and so forth. And then their conclusion is, in conclusion, my opinion, blank, I learned blank because. Hey you guys, I hope that was really helpful. I basically do the same thing for each writing style, and my students like it and they can do it on their own. They did it on their own for the benchmarks, and they did so good. So again, I feel like I talked a lot, but I hope it was useful. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm really excited for next week's video. I'm gonna be doing something pretty fun and creative, and I hope you guys watch that one too. I hope you guys have a really good end of your school year. It's almost there. I think I have 38 more days at this point, and right now 38 days seems really far away. So thank you guys again, and please be sure to subscribe to me, and thank you. I'll see you in the next video.